Welcome back to the workshop, and I want to show you some things about carving your neck, and it's a really fun process because it starts to really look like a guitar at this point. Very exciting. So what we have on your guitar now is the neck in a very primitive form, but fully assembled, and I could just pop it out. And since the last time that I saw you, I've glued the fingerboard on, which is hiding underneath this protective masking tape. So during the carving process, the frets won't get scratched. You can see the neck is all squared out. Just pretty much fully assembled hunks of wood that we need to now carve into that magical curved thing that fits our hand really well. Let me show you a few of the tools we're going to use. In neck carving, of course, a lot of the carving is done in curves, so we need things like chisels, though, that have angles that allow you, like the skew, to get into corners. Some different kinds of pocket knives that have rounded edges. Things like very simple cabinet scrapers that allow you to essentially microplane when you get down to very fine levels of detail. Have things like this is called a draw knife, and it's very good at carving in very linear fashion. And let's see, we have some different files that are rounded or half rounded, very good for getting into the heel and head areas. And then we have things like planes, small planes like this that allow you to very quickly take off material. So I'm going to just show you one aspect, couple aspects of how we're going to go about carving the heel. You can see that I've put a heel cap on, and so that will delineate kind of the edges of the heel, so I know how to carve right up to that heel cap. And then on the other side, you can see I've drawn in this semicircle, which will mark the end of where the curvature in the neck will come to the flat part of the back of the head. So now I'm going to move the camera and we'll go to some close-ups so you can actually see some carving at the beginning. Now at the beginning of the whole process, the idea is to start taking away the large edges and start to establish the rounded corners and edges that we know as a heel. So you can see it's all very square at this point. I'm going to take the skew and just start working off some of those facets. Now mahogany is really beautiful. There's no surprise why mahogany is used as the neck. It's super stable, so it resists movement, but it's still soft enough that it's easy to carve with hand tools. So I'll just take the skew and start working off some of these very obvious edges. But at this point, it's very much just freehand, by eye, taking away the material. So you get the idea now of how it's starting to look like a heel. And then I might come in with this finger plane and start to take away the edges on the long side of the neck. Okay, so just to show you what will happen at the head, it's obviously very square. And this is a fun step. I can take the skew again and start to carve away to define this half round area where the roundness of the back of the neck meets the flatness of the back of the head. And immediately you'll see how it starts to look like a guitar neck. So you can see, even just with this one simple tool, I've been able to work a lot of the different areas of the neck to get the basic shape started. Okay, and then I can even again use the finger plane to start rounding off. There you go. You can start to imagine how it will begin to reveal the final shape of the neck that's hidden in there. So when I come back, I'm going to do a little bit more work here, and then I'll come back and show you how we can get it to a relatively close approximation of the final shape. And now I have the neck on the holder, so I can have it a little more secure, and then I can continue to work on the heel by making some of these sweeping movements with this skew. And continue to define the overall shape of the heel. And maybe some with this finger plane. Now I have the neck a little bit more refined. You can see that I have the heel a little bit smoother, which I got smooth with a half round file. And the neck is a little rounder. And I still have some work to do to refine the head. So I have the template that I can put at the first, fourth, and eighth fret and check. So you can see, even by eye, I've already got the shape of the neck pretty much just by experience, almost exactly to the template, at least at the fourth fret. And as I take more material off, I'll just keep refining it. The other thing that I need to be aware of, constantly checking, is the thickness of the neck. So I'll take my caliper, and so for example at the first fret it's 23.7 millimeters, and I want it eventually to be exactly 21.7. So I know that I need to take off more material, so I'm going to use the spoke shave, and I'm going to remove material and keep rounding. The other thing that I can do to keep making it smoother and smoother is I'm going to take a cabinet scraper, which has a very fine edge on the metal, and use that to start smoothing out and taking away some of the marks, scratch marks from the file. Eventually, I'll get down to sandpaper, finer and finer grits of sandpaper, but at least for now, you can see how effective this cabinet scraper works as a microfile. And it's really, really good for blending in this curve from the neck into the fingerboard. Okay, so the other thing that I need to do is to begin to refine this semicircle at the head. And what I like to do is come in with just a rounded knife and start to whittle away very close to my pencil marks. The fine tip of the knife allows me to get in there perfectly. So you can see now, at least for this portion, I'm blending in the curves as they meet the different sections. It's just one continuous curve. And I'll continue that and begin to sand so that everything is going to be perfectly shaped and get smoother and smoother as we go. So I'll meet you at that other side when I get to that point. Okay, now we've done all the hard work. We've smoothed everything out and it is in its final form, and now the fun can begin. I'm just going to put a wash coat of shellac so you can see what the luster or the tone of the wood will be. So I'm just going to apply some shellac on the surface, and you can see the deep hues of the mahogany coming through now. And I love this part because you can see how the wood becomes sparkly and it has depth to it. And how dark the fingerboard, the African blackwood, becomes. And once this is done, the next step will be to fill the grain in the mahogany, level that, pour filler, and then apply French polished shellac for the final glossy finish. And there you go. Looking pretty nice. And of course we have to put the neck in and have some fun imagining how this guitar is going to turn out. So here's the neck and the body. Just fit it in and it fits beautifully. And get a sense of what the guitar is going to be like. Looks great. Neck feels great. The balance feels very nice. Yeah, it's going to be quite a guitar. Can't wait to string it up.